There is a moment in life when you look back and it seems like everything you've prayed for, everything you've worked for, everything you've believed for, slipped right through your hands. You question yourself. You question God. But I came to announce to you today, the universe is about to return everything you've lost. Let me make something clear. Loss is not always what it looks like. Sometimes you didn't lose it. It was removed to make space. You didn't lose it. It was paused to prepare you. You didn't lose it. It was stored in your future to meet you at your point of maturity. Everything you called loss was really a disguised investment. You see, the kingdom of heaven, the unseen realm that governs all things visible, is governed by laws. And one of those laws is the law of return. Nothing ever leaves your life without the potential to multiply when it returns. But it cannot return to you if your posture is still one of regret, bitterness, or fear. It returns to the soul that's ready to receive with gratitude, with wisdom, and with open hands. If you've ever lost time, get ready. Time is coming back to you in the form of accelerated progress. If you've ever lost relationships, get ready. People who carry destiny will be assigned to your life. If you've lost resources, peace, health opportunities, don't panic. The universe, through divine timing, is orchestrating a return. But here's the key: returns don't happen to the same person who lost. Returns happen to the version of you who grew through the loss. God is not returning things to your past. He's returning them to your evolved future. Your restoration will match your transformation. Don't curse the process. The pain was part of the preparation. The people who walked away were part of the purification. The delay was part of the discipline. Everything you thought was breaking you was actually building the capacity to hold what's about to be poured out. You may have walked through seasons where you cried in silence, where you questioned whether you'd ever get back what was taken. Let me tell you something the world doesn't always say. Heaven keeps receipts. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every battle you faced with faith, you are not being overlooked. You're being aligned. When the return begins, it won't come as a trickle. It won't be small or subtle. It will be undeniable. The same people who saw you lose will watch you rise. The same places that rejected you will need you. The same doors that closed will open on their hinges. And you won't return to knock, you'll return to own. But hear this carefully, you must expect the return, not casually, not as a wish, as a conviction. Because the universe responds not to hope alone, but to faith in motion. If your mouth speaks return, but your mind expects defeat, your soil is not ready for harvest. You must wake up with a posture that says, I'm ready, ready for restoration, ready for relationships that honor your worth, ready for resources to fulfill your assignment, ready for wisdom that preserves what's coming, ready to walk in what's already been prepared. Because what's coming isn't just restoration, it's elevation. God doesn't give back what was taken in the same form. He multiplies it. You lost a job, but you're getting a calling. You lost a person, but you're receiving a partnership. You lost a season, but you're about to walk into an era. This is not payback. This is overflow. So don't look back in sorrow. Don't live in mourning. Don't rehearse who left, what didn't happen, or how long it's been. That version of you no longer exists. The loss refined you. The weight matured you. The tears watered the soil. Now the harvest is due. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are in position. And the universe, led by the hand of divine intention, is about to return everything you've lost. Get ready. The return is not coming. It has already begun. What you thought was taken was only placed in divine storage, waiting for the right time and your right posture to be restored to you. Life has a way of convincing us that loss is final. When something exits our lives, whether it's a relationship, a job, an opportunity, or even a version of ourselves, we tend to write it off as gone forever. But the truth is, in the laws of divine timing and universal purpose, nothing truly leaves you. It simply changes form, location, or season. The universe does not deal in waste. Everything that has ever touched your life has been recorded, preserved, and filed under the account of purpose, waiting for the right time of return. Just because your natural eyes cannot see it anymore doesn't mean it has vanished. You must understand that what you've lost hasn't been destroyed. It has only been reassigned to another dimension, waiting for alignment to bring it back to you in its greater form. There is a spiritual warehouse, a divine storehouse, that holds everything meant for your life. Everything you think you missed, everything you believe was stolen, everything that seemed to disappear without explanation. It is not gone, it is held. Held by divine law, held by a timing that protects what is yours until you are ready to receive it. This is why the return of what was lost cannot be rushed, because premature returns spoil the potential they were meant to carry. Think about a seed that's been planted. You don't dig it up because you don't see it sprouting in 2 days. You let the soil and the season do their work. Likewise, what left your life has been planted in your future, and it is growing in the background, becoming something more powerful than it was when it left. The problem is that most people interpret absence as abandonment. If it's not in their hands, they believe it has left their destiny. But presence in your life is not measured by what you can see. It's measured by what you are aligned to receive. Everything you've lost is orbiting your life, waiting for the pull of maturity, readiness, and faith to draw it back in. The universe responds to energy, and if your energy is stuck in regret, bitterness, or despair, you're repelling what is trying to return. But when your inner world shifts into posture, into gratitude, into expectation, what was yours begins to find its way back. Not because it's been convinced of your worth, it's always known your worth, but because your inner climate has now become compatible with restoration. Think of a child who breaks a toy. The loving parent doesn't discard the toy. They take it, set it aside, fix it, and wait for the child to grow into the responsibility of using it again. That's how God handles your losses. He doesn't throw them away. He holds them. He repairs them. He refines them. And He waits for your character to grow into the weight of what's returning. Many times, the thing itself is ready, but the person is not. What you lost is prepared, but your perception, your habits, your spiritual maturity are not yet calibrated to sustain what's coming. This is why the storage exists, because divine timing is not just about you receiving a thing, it's about you being able to keep it once it comes. There are things you cried over that you thought would never come back. Relationships that ended and made you question your value. Dreams that felt like they slipped through your fingers. Years that felt wasted in jobs, in cities, in situations that left you drained. But I want to speak something deep into your spirit today. None of that was wasted. None of it is gone. It is all in storage, and your obedience, your healing, your decisions, and your faith are unlocking that vault, piece by piece. This is why it's so critical that you do not live in the memory of what you've lost, but in the expectancy of what is being returned. The danger of regret is that it causes you to mourn something that isn't even dead. It causes you to lower your energy and block your own restoration. When heaven places something in storage, it's because it values the weight of what you carried. It doesn't throw divine assignments away just because you stumbled. It doesn't cancel purpose just because you miscalculated. Divine timing protects destiny by making sure you get it when you're ready, not just when you want it. Wanting is emotional. Readiness is spiritual. Many people want what they lost back, but they aren't yet the person who can protect it when it returns. The universe knows this. God knows this. So instead of saying no, heaven says not yet. And in the not yet, you are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are being expanded, humbled, deepened, refined. Because what's returning to you isn't a copy of what you lost. It's the upgraded, multiplied, purpose-filled version of it. You lost a job, but what's returning is a calling. You lost a person, but what's returning is a partnership. You lost a season, but what's returning is a legacy. And it's all in divine storage, untouched by time, untouched by delay, protected by the hand of divine intent. But here's the deeper truth: divine storage is not just for material things. It's for identity. Some of you have lost yourself, your confidence, your peace, your joy, your childlike wonder, your sense of purpose. And heaven has preserved you. You are not who you used to be, but the core of who you are was never erased. It was simply buried under disappointment, failure, fear, and broken promises. And now the divine call is not just restoring what you had, it is restoring who you are. The original blueprint of your being, the undiluted version of your spirit, is being reawakened from storage. That's why you've been feeling the pull. That's why old desires are coming back. That's why you're starting to dream again, to believe again, to hope again. That's not by accident. That's the sound of heaven opening the vault. That's the vibration of your future returning to meet you. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. Everything that belongs to you, every moment, every opportunity, every resource, every divine connection is still yours. The universe is not confused. Your destiny is not canceled. Your time is not over. You've just been in a holding pattern while heaven rearranged the table for your return. And when what's in storage is finally released, you will understand why it had to leave for a while. you'll see that it never really left. It just waited until you were ready to receive it without losing it again. Because this time it's not coming back for a moment. It's coming back for a movement. Delay is not denial, it is development. One of the greatest misconceptions people carry in their journey of faith, destiny, and manifestation is that when something is delayed, it must mean it has been denied. But delay is not the same as a rejection. Delay is not a cancellation. Delay is divine strategy working in silence. What we interpret as a pause is often a process. The space between the promise and the performance is filled with preparation, and it's in that preparation that true development occurs. What many call waiting, heaven calls working. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. Every delay you've experienced was never meant to frustrate you. It was sent to fortify you. The universe in all its divine orchestration will never deliver to your hands what your character cannot sustain. It is more merciful for God to delay your breakthrough than to give it to you prematurely and watch it break you. Too many people want to possess without preparation. They desire the platform, but they haven't developed the internal posture to stand on it. The delay is heaven's way of making sure what comes to you doesn't crush you. The delay is not proof that you're behind. It's proof that you're being positioned. We live in a culture that despises delay. We want everything now. We want instant results, immediate answers, quick manifestations. But divine timing does not operate according to earthly impatience. You may want it now, but now may not be the best for you. God sees beyond your desire. He sees your design. And He knows what still needs to be shaped in you before the promise arrives. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It is the season where roots grow deep, where character is tested, where motives are purified, where your spirit is stretched so that your destiny won't snap under pressure. Every second of delay is a moment of divine investment into your becoming. What you must realize is that development is not always visible. The most significant growth happens underground. Think of a seed that is planted. It disappears beneath the soil. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But underneath, the shell is breaking, the roots are forming, the structure is being laid. It is in complete darkness that the seed begins to develop. Likewise, your delay often feels like darkness, like isolation, like nothing is working. But that is where the unseen work of development is taking place. You're not being overlooked. You're being transformed in the hidden places. Your roots are growing in silence. Your foundation is being laid in obscurity. Delay is where your faith is proven. It's easy to believe when things are happening fast, but true faith is forged in silence, when prayers seem unanswered, when nothing shifts, when doors remain closed. Can you still trust the process when the process is invisible? Can you still declare the promise when you have no evidence? Can you still walk like it's yours even when it looks like it's gone? That's development. That's the kind of internal strength that cannot be faked, cannot be borrowed, and cannot be bypassed. It must be forged in the fire of waiting. There are lessons you can only learn in the delay, wisdom that only comes through silence, patience that is only birthed through process. If everything came to you the moment you asked for it, you'd never grow. You'd never develop the discipline required to protect the blessing. Delay stretches you. It teaches you how to stand, how to endure, how to listen, how to discern, how to let go of control and lean into trust. And the more you are developed, the more you become a vessel that can carry the weight of what's coming. Sometimes you're ready emotionally, but not spiritually. Other times you're ready spiritually, but not relationally. You think you're prepared because your desire is strong. But desire without discipline is dangerous. Desire without wisdom is reckless. That's why the delay shows up, not to frustrate you, but to refine you. What if the job you're praying for would consume your identity because you haven't healed from the last failure? What if the relationship you're asking for would distract you from the purpose that still needs your full focus? What if the money you want would destroy your hunger for growth because you haven't yet learned stewardship? Heaven will not send what you're not yet ready to manage. So instead, the process is extended not out of punishment, but out of protection. You must learn to thank God for every delay. Thank Him for every door that didn't open when you wanted it. Thank Him for every plan that didn't work the way you expected. Because behind every delay is a divine calculation. Timing is not just about when, it's about who you are when it happens. God is not interested in speed. He's interested in strength. He's not concerned with how fast you move, but how deeply you're rooted when you arrive. Delay is the school of champions. It is where leaders are shaped. It is where vision is clarified. It is where motives are checked. It is where your dependence on God is deepened. Even Jesus experienced delay. The Son of God spent 30 years in preparation for 3 years of public purpose. If heaven didn't rush his process, why should you rush yours? You are not waiting in vain. You are being made. There is a version of you that the promise requires, and the only way to reach that version is through development. The waiting is not a punishment, it is a privilege. Because it's in the waiting that you discover who you really are. It's in the waiting that you learn to walk without sight. It's in the waiting that you stop depending on results and start depending on the voice of God. The delay is not blocking you, it is building you. You are not being denied, you are being detailed. Your vision is being sharpened, your posture is being adjusted. You are not losing time, you are gaining depth. The delay is your cocoon, not your coffin. And just like the butterfly that must be hidden before it flies, you too are in a sacred chamber of transformation. You are becoming what you need to be in order to carry what you've been called to carry. You are being developed. You are being equipped. You are being enlarged. Because when what's coming finally arrives, it won't be small. It won't be basic. It won't be temporary. It will require every lesson you learned in the delay. The universe does not forget seed. It honors it in due season. Every action rooted in faith, every prayer whispered in private, every tear shed in silence, every act of kindness done without recognition is a seed planted in the soil of time. And what most people fail to understand is that the soil never lies. The ground may be silent, but it is not empty. The moment a seed is placed, an invisible transaction begins between the visible world and the invisible laws that govern increase, multiplication, and return. You may not see the evidence immediately, but the seed has already activated a process that will bring forth a harvest in the timing set by the Creator. We often expect immediate reward because we confuse the law of sowing with the culture of speed. But divine principles are not subject to earthly impatience. Seeds do not respond to demands, they respond to design. They don't grow because you want them to, they grow because time, temperature, and environment have aligned with purpose. This is why so many people give up before the harvest, because they expected the reward on their timetable, not on heaven's. But the truth remains, no seed sown in faith is ever forgotten. It may look buried, but it is never lost. It may seem unseen, but it is never ignored. When you plant a seed, there is no immediate applause. The world keeps moving, and the ground remains quiet. But under the surface, transformation is taking place. The outer shell is breaking. The inner life is forming. The roots are reaching. The future is growing. In the same way, the universe takes everything you offer in obedience, in sacrifice, in perseverance, and it stores it in the soil of destiny. There is no loss in sowing. What seems like letting go is actually setting up. Every time you gave when it hurt, loved when it wasn't returned, served when no one clapped, endured when quitting was easier. That was a seed. And heaven took notice. There are moments in life when you wonder if all your effort has been in vain. You start to question if the long nights, the silent sacrifices, the tears nobody saw were even worth it. But you must understand the nature of seed. It operates in seasons. And seasons do not consult feelings. They are governed by timing. Just as a farmer does not harvest in winter or plant in summer, your life also moves according to divine seasons. You may not control the when, but you do control the sowing. And when you continue to sow in faith, even when your circumstances don't change, even when recognition doesn't come, even when no one says thank you, you are positioning yourself for a harvest that must come. One of the greatest deceptions is that unseen equals unproductive. But the most powerful growth happens in silence. The seed never makes noise while it's transforming. There is no sound when it breaks open, no announcement when roots anchor deep. And yet, its destiny is moving forward. In your life, the same principle applies. Your prayers may not get public attention. Your efforts may not be validated. Your consistency may be ignored by men. But the divine system does not miss anything. The universe is meticulous in its accounting. It counts every seed and records every detail. The delay between the planting and the harvest is not evidence that you've been forgotten. It's proof that you're being prepared. God is not just growing the seed, He's growing you alongside it. Sometimes the harvest is delayed not because the seed is weak, but because the vessel meant to carry the blessing is still being strengthened. You must grow into the capacity to manage what's coming. Because a harvest too early can destroy the field. A blessing too soon can burden the soul. So, the same divine intelligence that receives the seed also watches over its appointed time. Many people think the universe is random, but it operates by unbreakable laws. One of those laws is that what you sow, you shall reap. But you do not reap in the same form or the same moment. You reap multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That's how heaven gives back. You sowed kindness to someone who didn't deserve it. You'll reap favor in a place you never expected. You sowed faith when fear was screaming. You'll reap peace that surpasses understanding. You sowed generosity when you had little. You'll reap provision that overflows. The seed never returns empty. It returns multiplied and transformed. There are seeds you planted years ago that are still active. Just because you've forgotten them doesn't mean the universe has. Some of you are about to walk into seasons you don't even remember sowing for. But the soil remembered. Heaven remembered. Your obedience triggered a harvest that was scheduled for a time such as this. That's why you must stay faithful. That's why you must keep doing good even when no one notices. Because the seed is not for them, it's for your future. And your future is waiting for the moment of full maturity when everything aligns and the fruit begins to show. You don't sow to impress, you sow to transform. You don't give to manipulate results, you give to activate law. You don't love just to get love back. You love because love is a seed that never dies. Even in places where you feel nothing grew, the universe was still counting. Even when people didn't respond, God was recording. Even when nothing seemed to change, the ground was shifting. You are not operating in vain. The seeds you sowed in faith are your legacy. They will outlive moments, outlast memories, and overflow into generations. This is why it's dangerous to stop sowing just because you don't see results. A farmer does not stop planting because last year's crop took long to appear. He knows the land is faithful. He knows the earth will answer. Likewise, you must trust that the soil of your destiny is responsive. It cannot ignore faith. It cannot overlook obedience. It cannot dismiss sacrifice. It may not reward it instantly, but it will reward it fully. In due season, not just any season, due season. The moment when all factors align. The moment when heaven says now. The moment when everything hidden becomes revealed, and everything you thought was lost comes back in a greater form. You are not waiting in vain. You are waiting in expectation. You are waiting for divine law to complete what it started. Because once a seed is sown, the law is in motion. You don't have to see it to believe it. You don't have to feel it to trust it. You just have to stay faithful in the in-between. Keep watering with gratitude. Keep watching with hope. Keep walking with patience. The harvest is guaranteed. The season is already approaching. The reward is already being prepared. The universe has not forgotten your seed. What left you was never greater than what's coming to you. One of the most painful experiences in life is loss. When something or someone exits your life, whether by choice, force, or circumstance, it leaves behind an empty space that seems to echo louder than any words of comfort. But the reality is, what departed did not define your destiny. What walked away was never meant to carry the full weight of your future. It played a role, served a season, and when that season concluded, it had to move so that your next chapter could unfold. You must understand that loss is not just subtraction. It is often divine preparation for addition. What you let go of was making space for what God is sending that's bigger, better, stronger, deeper, and more aligned with who you're becoming. Too often, people hold on to what left as if it was their last chance, their only option, their final opportunity. But the truth is, anything that can walk away from your life was never meant to stay through your full elevation. Destiny is selective. Purpose is precise. The future doesn't build itself on what's no longer functional. It builds itself on what still has potential. And if it left you, whether it be a relationship, a position, a friendship, a chance, or even a version of yourself, it was never more valuable than what's ahead. Letting go hurts, but it is often the only way to grow. You cannot reach for the new while your hands are still holding the old. You cannot walk into next while your heart is chained to what's behind. What's coming carries more weight, more worth, and more wisdom than what walked away. There is a principle you must embrace if you're going to walk in the fullness of restoration. Divine subtraction always precedes supernatural multiplication. Before the universe pours in, it often pulls out. Not to punish, but to purify, not to destroy, but to define. The things you lost didn't break you. They revealed you. They exposed your resilience. They uncovered your hidden strength. They forced you to dig deeper, pray harder, trust more, release faster. And in doing so, they carved out the inner space that's now ready to hold something greater. If you hadn't lost what you did, you would never have made room for what's about to arrive. You don't grow when everything stays the same. You grow when change challenges your comfort. When you're forced to evaluate who you are without the things you thought you needed. When you learn to live with open hands instead of clenched fists. When you stop attaching your identity to what's temporary. What left you was not your definition. It was just your training ground. It was the stage on which your character was sharpened. But now the curtain is rising on a greater act. The next phase of your journey is not about what you had. It's about what you're about to carry. Many people fear loss because they think it reduces their worth. But your value was never in what you had. It's in who you are. And sometimes things are removed so that you can finally see yourself without attachments, without crutches, without the distractions that diluted your vision. What left was not greater than you. It may have looked like success. It may have felt like love. It may have brought temporary satisfaction. But anything that can be taken, anything that can walk away, anything that can be lost, is not the foundation your life was meant to stand on. What's coming to you is not just a replacement, it's a reward. It's a divine upgrade that doesn't just fill the space, it fulfills the purpose. This is why you must be careful not to glorify your losses. Pain can lie, it can exaggerate the worth of what you lost. It can make you romanticize the past and minimize the future. It can trap you in memories that were never meant to be monuments. The pain of loss may be real, but so is the promise of restoration. And the promise says that what is ahead is greater than what is behind. The promise says your latter days shall be greater than your former. The promise says you'll recover all, but not as it was, as it should be. You must train your mind to stop rehearsing the exit and start preparing for the entrance. Stop replaying what they said, how it ended, why it failed, when it changed. All of that belongs to a chapter that has been closed. The longer you stare at the closed door, the more you delay the opening of the new one. And the new door is heavy with everything you've been praying for. Opportunity, peace, alignment, vision, growth, favor, and fullness. It is coming with clarity. It is coming with acceleration. It is coming with people who understand your value and don't need to be convinced of your worth. But it cannot come until you stop grieving what was and start rejoicing over what will be. There is divine strategy in removal. When God allows something to be taken, it is never random. It is always attached to your next level. He removes to reveal. He subtracts to align. He takes to give more. Think about the tree in winter. Every leaf falls, every branch is bare. To the outside world, it looks lifeless. But what they don't see is that the tree is preparing for a more fruitful season. The loss is not death, it's transition. In the same way, your life may feel bare in certain places. You may feel like everything has been stripped away. But what's really happening is a reset. What's really happening is recalibration. You're being readied for a release that requires more space than you had before. Even your past mistakes can't cancel what's coming. God doesn't restore based on your perfection. He restores based on your purpose. You don't have to earn what's next. You just have to be ready to receive it. And readiness comes from trust. Trust that what left you is not greater than what's being sent to you. Trust that nothing exits your life without divine permission. Trust that timing is always working in your favor, even when your feelings say otherwise. Trust that what's ahead is not just compensation. It's confirmation that you were always destined for more. This is why your mindset is critical in seasons of loss. If you believe you've been robbed, you'll live in fear. If you believe you've been forgotten, you'll settle for less. But if you believe you've been positioned, you'll stay open to overflow. You'll expect better. You'll walk with your head high. You'll declare with confidence that what's coming is not a repeat of what was. It's not a lesser version. It's not a consolation prize. It's restoration with interest. It's beauty for ashes. It's joy for mourning. It's the kind of return that makes you forget how hard it was to lose. You don't have to chase what left. You don't have to beg it to come back. You don't have to lower your standards to make it fit. What left you was never greater than what's coming to you. And when what's coming arrives, you'll understand why it had to leave. You'll see the wisdom in the pain. You'll recognize the gift in the goodbye. You'll realize that heaven never subtracts without a plan to multiply. The law of return always exceeds the law of loss. In the divine structure of the universe, loss is never final. It is never the end of the story. Loss in its temporary nature is simply a doorway to a greater dimension of gain. What you let go of, what was taken from you, what seemed to fall apart in your hands. None of it exited your life without setting in motion a greater law, a higher principle that governs all things, the law of return. This law does not operate on the same scale as the loss you experienced. It does not restore to you what you had in equal measure. It brings it back multiplied, refined, expanded, and soaked in divine purpose. The return is not a match for the loss. It is a reward for surviving it. When the universe permits something to be taken from your life, it does so with the full knowledge that a return is already scheduled. That return, however, is governed not by emotion but by spiritual law. This is why you must never define your future by what you've lost. If you do, you'll live in limitation. You'll make decisions based on fear. You'll build walls around your heart, thinking you're protecting what's left, when in reality you're blocking what's coming. The law of return is not neutral. It's biased in your favor. It does not operate on fairness. It operates on faithfulness. That means what you lost is already being recalculated into something more. The very moment loss touched your life, the law of return was activated. This is why you must never mourn forever. Grief has its purpose, but it cannot be your permanent posture. When you grieve beyond the season, you begin to dishonor the return. You begin to act as if the loss was sovereign, as if it had the final say, as if it was greater than the promise that preceded it. But God never allows something to exit your life without planting within that exit the seed of something greater. The loss is the shell, the return is the fruit. The pain is the beginning, the glory is the conclusion. You were not meant to lose and stay empty. You were meant to lose and then be filled to overflowing. The divine economy is not like the systems of man. It doesn't return what was taken in the same form. It brings it back in higher form. It brings it back purified, elevated, and enhanced. You may have lost friends, but what returns are connections of destiny. You may have lost resources, but what returns is supernatural provision. You may have lost years, but what returns is acceleration. God does not simply pay back, He overcompensates. The law of return is rooted in His nature. He restores not just in pieces, but in overflow. He doesn't just bring it back. He presses it down, shakes it together, and lets it run over. That is the law of return. It overwhelms what was lost with what is coming. In the moment of loss, it's hard to imagine that anything greater could follow. Your emotions can convince you that the best has already passed. But emotion is not truth. Emotion is temporary. Truth is eternal. And the truth is that every loss becomes a setup for return the moment you surrender to divine purpose. The universe is always keeping record. Nothing escapes its calculation. It knows every tear you cried in secret, every sacrifice you made in silence, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers. And it stores those moments like seeds, seeds that will break the soil of your life in due season and bring forth a harvest that makes sense of the sorrow. When you look at stories of restoration, you'll always find that the return outweighed the loss. Job lost everything, family, wealth, health. But when his season turned, he received double for everything that was taken. That's not a poetic metaphor, it's a divine pattern. The pattern of heaven is to use loss as the womb of increase, to use pain as the soil for power, to allow what looks like subtraction to become the foundation of supernatural supply. You have to begin seeing loss through the eyes of faith. Because when you do, you realize that what you lost was only the beginning of what God was about to build. And the return is not just about material things. Sometimes the greatest returns are internal. You lost your confidence. But what returns is an identity grounded in purpose. You lost your voice. But what returns is a boldness that cannot be silenced. You lost your joy. But what returns is an unshakable peace that no circumstance can touch. You lost a season. But what returns is wisdom, maturity, and divine strategy. These are the things that make you dangerous to the enemy. These are the returns that make the pain worth it. These are the returns that mark you forever. The universe will always ensure that what is owed to you finds its way back to you. Not in the same packaging, not always in the same location, not necessarily through the same people, but it will come. The law of return does not require you to trace the path. It requires you to trust the principle. You may not know how, you may not know when. But if you've planted, if you've endured, if you've walked in integrity, then your return is guaranteed. It is being calculated even now. It is being shaped in places you cannot see. It is being released in the form your purpose requires. The return is not an accident. It's an appointment. There is nothing you have lost that heaven has not already accounted for. And not only accounted for, but increased. What you sowed in tears, you will reap in joy. What you gave in secret, you will receive in open honor. What you released in faith, you will receive in fulfillment. The pain you felt was not in vain. It was the indicator that something greater was being aligned. This is why you cannot despise the season of loss. You must walk through it with the awareness that something is on its way to you that your eyes have not seen, your ears have not heard, and your heart has not even fully imagined. That is the return. There are doors opening for you that are bigger than the ones that closed. There are opportunities forming that don't carry the limits of the ones you missed. There are relationships coming that don't carry the pain of the ones that ended. There is strength growing in you that far outweighs the weakness of your last fall. What's coming is greater. It is heavier with glory. It is laced with divine timing. And it carries a weight that will confirm why you had to lose what you did. The law of loss is temporary, but the law of return is eternal. It will restore you. It will lift you. And when it comes, it will not just return what was taken. It will transform you into the person who can steward what is greater than you ever thought you could hold. Heaven keeps record even when earth misplaces value. There is a divine intelligence that watches every detail of your life with perfect clarity. While people may overlook you, misunderstand you, underestimate your contribution, or forget your sacrifices, heaven sees everything. Nothing you've done in love, obedience, integrity, or faithfulness is ever lost in the shuffle of life. The applause of man may be absent, the recognition may never come, the promotion may have passed you by, but that does not mean your work was in vain. What the world forgets, heaven honors. What people ignore, God remembers. Your value is not determined by how people measure you. It is determined by how heaven has marked you. Many people live under the false weight of feeling invisible. They assume that because they are not seen, they are not significant. But significance is not defined by visibility. In the kingdom of God, significance is defined by obedience, character, and alignment with purpose. Some of the greatest moments of destiny are forged in silence, hidden from human eyes but fully documented in the archives of the eternal. Every unnoticed act of kindness, every silent battle fought with integrity, every private moment of surrender to God, these are not forgotten. They are seeds that heaven stores and multiplies in secret, preparing for the moment when divine timing brings them to light. People are fickle. They celebrate what is popular, not always what is purposeful. They reward noise, not necessarily depth. In a world where performance often matters more than purity, where charisma is elevated above character, it's easy to feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. But that is a deception. Because while earth misplaces value, elevating titles, possessions, and platforms, heaven keeps record of truth, humility, and faithfulness. There are people who may never know your name, but heaven calls you by purpose. There are rooms you've never been invited into, but heaven has already written your destiny into the script of history. You are not forgotten. You must never confuse silence with insignificance. Some of your greatest impact will be in places where no one claps, no one comments, no one thanks you. But those are the places where legacy is born. Those are the places where God writes history in unseen ink. Heaven does not measure the size of your stage. It measures the size of your surrender. It does not record likes, followers, or fame. It records faith, obedience, and the posture of your heart. When you give your all and receive no credit, when you forgive in private and carry no bitterness, when you serve without a spotlight, that's when heaven takes note. Not one of those moments slips through the cracks. They are counted, treasured, and added to the ledger of your reward. Even when people misuse your efforts, when they minimize your value, when they pretend you were never essential, heaven keeps truth. Heaven does not participate in gossip, forgetfulness, or partial memory. It remembers every time you showed up when it was inconvenient. It remembers every time you stayed quiet when you could have defended yourself. It remembers every hour you invested, every tear you shed, every moment you chose faith instead of fear. Earth may rewrite the story, but heaven keeps the original draft. You don't need to prove yourself to man when God has already approved your heart. You don't need to chase validation when heaven has already stamped you with favor. There are rewards coming to you not but because you were faithful. Faithfulness is the currency of heaven. It is not about being seen. It is about being steadfast. It is about doing what is right when it costs you. It is about loving when it's inconvenient, giving when it's uncomfortable, staying when it would be easier to leave. Faithfulness is not always flashy, but it is always fruitful. Heaven has a way of bringing back to you everything you've given when no one else was watching. It has a way of honoring the secret life you've lived behind closed doors. You must remember that your value is not tied to the applause of people. It is not determined by the recognition you receive. There are entire seasons of your life that may go unnoticed by others, but are celebrated in heaven. And at the appointed time, what has been stored up will be released. The harvest will not just be a return of what you gave. It will be pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It will be divine confirmation that your labor was not in vain, that your value is never diminished, only hidden until the right moment of release. Sometimes God hides you on purpose. He allows your value to be concealed from people because the work He is doing in you is not for public consumption yet. Just because you're hidden doesn't mean you're forgotten. Being hidden is protection. It's a season of preparation. It's the proving ground where your heart is purified, your motives are tested, and your spirit is fortified. When you are finally revealed, it won't be a result of manipulation or promotion from people. It will be the manifestation of what heaven has already seen in you. The world will be catching up to what heaven has known all along. So don't chase platforms. Don't beg for attention. Don't try to convince people to see your value. Let them overlook you. Let them forget your name. Let them write you out of the script. It does not change your position in the eyes of God. Your story is not being written by people. It is being authored by the one who saw you before you were formed. He who began the good work in you is faithful to complete it. He has kept every record. Every time you trusted when it didn't make sense. Every time you obeyed when it was costly. Every time you worshipped while you were in pain. He saw it all. He wrote it all, and He will reward it all. Heaven's reward system is precise. It does not miss. It does not delay by mistake. It does not forget. There is a harvest for every season of sowing, a return for every act of righteousness, a breakthrough for every season of brokenness you endured in silence. What others missed, God magnifies. What others dismissed, God prepares to display. There will come a moment when all that was hidden will be honored, when the private sacrifices will become public testimonies, when the records heaven kept will be translated into tangible blessing. You are not unseen. You are not discarded. You are not invisible. You are remembered in the courts of heaven. Your name is known. Your value is established. Your destiny is recorded. Heaven's timing will collide with earth's seasons, and what has been stored in silence will erupt into fullness. Not one moment was wasted. Not one act was ignored. Heaven keeps record, even when earth misplaces value. My friends, I say to you today with unwavering confidence, you have not been forgotten. You have only been prepared. The universe, in its divine order, has kept record of every tear you cried in the dark, every seed you planted in secret, every silent prayer whispered through brokenness. What you thought was lost was never lost. It was preserved. What was delayed was never denied. It was developed. What walked away did not weaken you. It refined you. And now the hour of return is at hand. This is not the time to shrink back in fear or dwell in regret. This is the moment to lift your head, square your shoulders, and walk boldly into the season that has been waiting for your maturity to arrive. Because the return is not coming in the form of pity. It is coming in the form of power. It is coming with glory. It is coming with acceleration. It is coming with the weight of everything you were born to carry. Everything you thought you lost. Joy, peace, opportunity, love, purpose, time. It is all coming back, but not as it was. It is coming back, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I declare to you by divine authority, you are about to step into a season where heaven will make an open spectacle of what it preserved in secret. God is about to reveal what He refined in the fire. The universe is returning what you thought you'd never see again. Healed, multiplied, and saturated with divine favor. You will recover all, but you will not just recover, you will reign. Because restoration is not about getting back what you had. It's about being elevated into what you were always meant to hold. So walk like it's done. Speak like it's yours. Praise like it's here. Because your return has already been authorized. Your restoration has already been scheduled. And your reward has already been written. The universe is about to return everything you've lost and more. Let it be so.